Hello and welcome to the Herrington Carmichael Employment Law Update for July 2019. My name is Alistair MacArthur, I'm the head of the employment team with Herrington Carmichael, and as always I have the 4 latest things for you in the world of employment law. Where to start this month? Let's start with holiday pay claims. Now, as many of you know, holiday pay claims have been very contentious in the legal world, and particularly the employment legal world, for some time. And this relates to a situation whereby an employee does not receive the correct amount of holiday pay within the terms of the working time regulations. And the case this month is the case of Northern Ireland Police and Agnew, which is a Northern Irish decision, but it will be persuasive on the UK employment tribunals. And this is a situation where there was a break in underpayments for a period of greater than 3 months. Now, normally where there is a break in underpayment, you would argue that there wasn't a continuous series in order to be able to pursue a wages claim. However, in this case there was a break of greater than 3 months, but it was still held there was a series, and therefore the individual could go back in terms of time for the wages claim. What does this mean for us as employers? What it means is you've got to look very carefully and not just simply assume that where there is a break of 3 months that the employee loses the right to the old holiday pay. Take it carefully, look at it and see whether there is actually a series of deductions or not. Let's move on. Let's look at the disability discrimination case of Owen and Amek. This case relates to a situation where Mr. Owen was prevented from taking a role in the United Arab Emirates on grounds of health. He pursued a disability discrimination claim, and it was argued that he had been discriminated against because the right to go and work outside of the UK had been withdrawn from him. However, in this situation the employer was able to justify that on the medical grounds because of the specific evidence that was given that the individual would be unable to fly. So therefore, although it feels like it's clashing where there's medical evidence and there's a disability, the employer could still justify their behaviour. It's a really, really fine line though, so please take care in such situations. Next, the issue of reinstatement and re-engagement. As many of you know, in an unfair dismissal claim, there is available to the employee the ability to pursue reinstatement or re-engagement, and if they don't do that, then there is a potential uplift or additional award in relation to compensation. In the case of Mackenzie and the University of Cambridge, this was a situation where the employee tried to use the court structure to gain an injunction to enable the re-engagement to take effect. What actually happened though is the court said no, you can't use the injunctive procedures available to be able to enforce the re-engagement against the employer. The employer had paid the additional award available for re-engagement and therefore actually didn't have to re-engage. Now, that is an interesting development because what it means is, in theory, the employer can avoid the obligation to reinstate and re-engage provided they're prepared to pay for it. Finally, the case of Heskett and Secretary of State for Justice, and this is an indirect discrimination claim which relates to a situation where the employer attempted to justify discriminatory behaviour on the basis that they couldn't afford to. Now, what it was a situation where the employer didn't actually have the means to accommodate what was being asked for, and were able to argue they couldn't do it on a pure financial ground because of the absence of financial means. Not that they couldn't afford it, but the means weren't there at all. Now, the justification was permitted in this case, but again it's a very fine line that employers need to look carefully at, whether it's a situation where they just simply can't afford it or they don't have enough money. Now, money is always a big issue. You've got to look at it very carefully, and money alone may not be able to justify it unless it is mirroring the circumstances here where there is an absence of the financial elements available. That's the end of this update from me this month. I'll be back to you in August. I hope you continue to have a good summer. Thank you very much.